Hey friends, Greg here at the Pennywise Guys. We just finished installing a mini split air conditioner on this RV. I have a number of videos showing the whole process, but today we're going to focus on the cabinets that we had to remove and rebuild to make room for the evaporator unit inside this trailer. Let's get started. It's time to rebuild these cabinets. What I need to do is I'm going to cut from this corner here, or measure from this corner here, and I need at least 23-24 inches. Right here is, on the other side of this brace, is about 23.5. So that's where I'm going to cut it, is right along this edge, and keep this. And then I will use leftover material, and I'll do the same on the other end. I'll cut that 23.5 inches. So this section here is being not used. So I have that material and the sheet that went across it to make the needed parts to rebuild this small 24, about roughly 23.5, 24 inch cabinet on either side of the inside unit. Okay, I'll go ahead and make the cuts and I'll show you the assembly process. This is how I took the wires that were hanging down and put them inside the cavity of the ceiling. I went ahead and cut a 1/4 inch groove down the line. I cut a 1 1/8 inch by 1/8 inch piece of material that I took off from the cabinetry that I had left over. And I'm using this as a backing plate to bring these two pieces together, because this part over here is sagging down lower than this, and so when I fill it with adhesive caulking, it's not going to look right. And so I'm going to take, and I took my flat bar, I chiseled out all the foam with a saw and a flat bar, got that worked out on both sides, and I didn't do as much on this side because it was pretty tough, because this piece is up tight against here because of the stud, and it's glued really good, and so this is not sagging, this is sagging, so I was able to get that down and work that foam out and got this piece to go in about 3/4 of an inch. And then all I really need is about 1/8 inch into this part, and I was able to do that with the pry bar. I hooked it in there and just carved out the foam, and I want that to catch that edge, and I'm going to use construction adhesive and glue this part down the line, okay, to where it's solid, and then it'll be hanging on that edge and it'll bring that up together. That makes sense. So right now I put the stick in first, then I tucked the wires in on top of that stick down the line there. I temporarily put it in place with some screws. Okay, I'm gonna bring this side down and put a bead of construction adhesive across that back edge, this side here, right down the line, and I'm going to use bridge washers and screws to pull it together and let it cure. Okay, that's my idea on that, and that way when I'll make a hole cover with the leftover material that I took off, and I can plug up that hole, get that all caulked up and painted. I got matching paint for the ceiling, and it'll look pretty decent. Okay, I've got it all attached with the construction adhesive, and I use bridge washers and sheetrock screws to hold it together. I use the Loctite Power Grab heavy duty construction adhesive. It'll take about 24 to 48 hours to cure, so I'm gonna leave it a couple, 3 days. And it pulled together real nice, and those edges now are matched. I'll let this cure, and that should hold on the adhesive side here, and that 1/8 inch overlap will grab that other side and keep it in place. And then I'll fill that void and finish it off and paint it. And these wires are going to go all the way down to this hole over here and hang down inside the cabinet, going through PVC pipe, and it'll all be finished off really nice. Okay, so I think that's going to work well. All right, I'll show you the progress on this fix on the ceiling after I ran the wires through down to there. I went ahead and put a backing plate behind that hole, glued it with the construction adhesive, just a 1 inch by
3-inch piece of 1/8-inch material, glued it in there, and then I glued a 2-inch plug that I just cut out with a hole saw, 2-inch hole saw, and then did the caulking work down the line. And I'm going to put a slide up. It shrank just a little bit, so I'll put a second application here and slightly texture it, because if you look closely, I don't know if you can see if I can show you the texturing on there. It has a slight texture to the sheeting. After I had it all caulked and filled, I had 2 applications because it shrank. And then what I used, I'll show it here, is a bowl of water and a Brillo pad. And after you put the second final coat of caulking in, you take the wet Brillo pad and you just rough it up a little bit and try to match the texturing, which has got a lot of scratches, kind of scratch marks and different irregular patterns. So that wet Brillo pad on its edge, so you don't lay it flat, but you go on the edge and just rub it across the edge and make the scratches and irregular pattern there, and that blends it all real nice. And so we're ready to paint, and I got paint matched, so we'll go ahead and paint that area and you'll hardly notice it. Alright, we're starting the cabinet assembly. I want to go ahead and show you a few things before we continue the process. I want to talk about the line set cover that I made. Check out my video on how to make these line set covers, and they look really, really nice. Just cover those line sets very nicely. What I did on this one, I didn't glue the sections together beforehand. The last line set cover, I pre-glued it together. This one I went ahead and got the line sets bent to fit that radius, fit the elbow on there first, and then put this piece in and just work the lines in. There's a 1 1/4 inch slot on the back of this pipe, and just work the line sets in with the drain tube first. Make sure the drain tube's at the bottom, okay? The condensation tube, make sure it's at the bottom, and then go ahead and work the other line sets in along with the extension cord. And they hold in there. They don't have to be attached in there. They just snap in there with that 1 1/4 inch slot. And then after I got that piece in, I raised it up high enough to get this other piece worked in there. And same process, just work the lines in there. At the point where you have the condensation line down here, it doesn't at this point matter where it's located on here. So just get it popped in there, all the 2 line sets, the drain, condensation line, and the electrical cord. And then it goes down to the ground or the floor where the hole is. Okay, so that makes it a real clean, and this will be inside the cabinet. The only part that will be seen is this piece right here, and then of course that going down, but that's hidden behind the valance, and it just makes it a real nice covering for those line sets. These wires will be covered with the same thing. I'll put a slot in a 1/2 inch PVC pipe and put a 1/8 inch groove, maybe a 1/4 inch groove, and pop those. Actually, it'll have to be 1/4 inch because I have these butt connectors. So yeah, 1/4 inch groove, and just cover up that, and that'll be inside the cabinet as well. I got the bottom part in, and this corner piece in, screwed in, and we'll screw it across the back and get that nice and tight. I went ahead and pre-cut a hole for the line set to go in right here. Use I think it was a 2 1/4 inch or 2 1/2 inch, I can't remember, 2 1/2 inch hole saw, and then a hand saw to square it out. Okay, so that goes through there, and all the wires other than what's going to be going up behind this line set cover is that 1/2 inch piece of PVC pipe, and then all the wires will be in this cavity with the lid on top of it, so that'll be all the piece of 1/8 inch plywood that goes on the side here, notched out for this line set cover. We'll be putting that in last. This line here I'll be drilling a hole through inside the cavity into the curtain valance that goes across, like this one here, that goes across here. I'll put a hole in there, I'll cut the wires on the other side, run them through underneath the valance, and then through a piece of 1/2 inch PVC pipe, and that'll dress that up real nice. You'll even see the pipe, and then it'll come up through the other side and then into that hole. Okay, so all the wires will be hidden, and I'll continue the process here. I'm going to go ahead and get the that 1/2 inch pipe put in first and get this all secured. We're putting this side in here. I'm using 2-inch Tech screws like that. Okay, in that corner there and up here, because that's aluminum frame right there. So self-drilling, self-tapping, 2-inch Tech screws holds it very, very well. The other side here is into 1/8 inch sheeting, and I'm using the drywall anchors. Okay, and that's it right up there. So those 3 attachment points are very, very solid. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start assembling the rest of the vertical supports. And I find that if you got the measurement from here to here where you want, and then clamp it just like this, then you can reach behind without this moving and drill those screws into the trim here without pilot hole being drilled. So go ahead and clamp it where you want it, get that drilled in, and then position at the top, clamp it and drill it, and do the second piece over here, and then we'll put the 1/8 inch veneer in. Okay, I'll go ahead and screw that on, and we'll go to the next step. Okay, we're going to screw in the top now. I got it clamped in place. It definitely is helpful to use the flexible drive with the square bit on the end for this to match the screws. Okay, got the pieces in. I want to go ahead and I screwed this panel in. I'm just using the 1/2 inch screws like that from the back instead of stapling. That way, if I need to take them off, I can take them off. Especially for the fact that my dad wanted to have a shelf in here to divide out the storage. So I built this shelf to go in there. I put this panel in, I put the shelf in from this side here, and now I'm going to attempt to, this is only 11 inches wide for this purpose. I got to be able to work around that shelf and get these 2 pieces, the end piece and another side piece put in. I'll put the end piece in first, and then I'll put this piece in last. Okay, the end piece here, I went ahead and cut it low enough to go below the brackets that I have in the corner and the side. So I still have about a 1/2 inch engagement, but I was able to get it in here and then set it on the bottom, and we are clear of the brackets at the top. Okay, so looking from this side, it'll look like that. Okay, and I'll go ahead and now reach in there with the screws, and we'll see what we can do. All right, and then this piece is going to be a little tricky, but I think I can lift the shelf up and work the drill in there. Okay, real quick, a little trick. I had a hard time working this piece in because of the shelf, so I went ahead and put the screws in the 1/8 inch veneer first, so I don't have to hold them. I can just get the drill in there and screw it in. Much easier because I can't get my hand in there to hold the screw. All right, I got the piece in. It was helpful to tip this shelf that I made back up on its edge. Gave me more room in here to get the drill. But I got that piece in there, and I'm just going to hang the door. All right, all completed. The refinishing worked out really well, and looks great with the unit there, the mini split unit. Check out my other videos of how to install those, and also how to do the refinish work. So it turned out really nice. Parents are extremely happy with the results.
I pray that you are blessed, and that you know Him who is the author of life.